Hey everybody, welcome back to a new After Effects tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to create this illustrated animation in Adobe After Effects using some expressions. So we're going to learn a couple of different techniques, a couple of different expressions, how to use some basics using cameras in After Effects. So let's get started. Alright, we're going to create a new composition. All the assets that I have here, I have a car, I have a city background, illustrations. All these illustrations I got them from the internet. So if you guys want to follow along or want to try this out later, you can just Google PNG illustrations, car illustrated PNG, or car illustrated, or car illustration Adobe Illustrator file, or anything like that. The first thing I did is I got rid of the background using the pen tool, so I mask the background out. If you don't know, I'm not gonna show you the details on how to do that today, but if you want to do, you can do this either in After Effects or you can do it in Photoshop if you want to. If you want to learn how to do it in Photoshop, I have another tutorial that I'm gonna post the link in the comments below, or it's gonna pop right here on the screen somewhere. So if you want to learn how to use the pen tool in Adobe Photoshop, just go ahead and watch that video first. So now we have the car masked out, and we're going to duplicate this layer, Control D or Apple D if you're on a Macintosh, and we're going to get rid of this mask. So now we're going to mask out one of the wheels. We're going to use the ellipse tool. It's going to make it a little easier. Click Shift and drag. Now as you can see, I didn't do a very good job covering the wheel with my mask, but now I'm just gonna open my mask tab right over here. Let me show you. Right over here, I'm gonna open my mask tab, and I'm going to expand the mask until it covers the wheel. So now we have one wheel ready, and now we're going to use we're going to create a shape layer, just a very simple shape, and we're going to make sure that no layer is selected. Control Shift A to unselect every single layer, and now we're going to create just a straight line right over here. We're going to make it the same color of the wheel. The reason I did this is to have something that is rotating, so it actually shows you visually that the layer is that the wheel is going to be rotating. If we don't have something here in the middle, it's just not, it's going to be, the wheel is going to rotate, but it won't be visible. So you can make it more complicated, you can design something better here in the wheel, but just for the sake of the tutorial, I'm just gonna draw this straight line. We're gonna rename this. We're gonna parent the line wheel to the tire. We're gonna use this right here. I'm gonna use the pick whip, click on it and drag it to the tire. So now we're going to rotate the tire, and as you can see, if you try to move the rotation, it's gonna rotate off the car, and that's not what we want. And so the first thing that we need to do, we have to make sure that the anchor point is in the middle of the tire. So we're going to come up here, and we're going to use the anchor point tool right here. And we're going to move the anchor point to the center of the tire. We're going to feather these masks a little bit. So click on the car layer, go down to feather, open this masks menu right here, and we're gonna go to feather. We're just gonna feather just 2 pixels, not too much. And we're going to do the same with the tire. The shortcut is the letter F on your keyboard. And just 2. Actually, that's too much. Maybe just 1. Alright, that looks pretty good. That's gonna soften the edges a little bit. It's gonna make it look better. Now we're going to animate the wheel. And here is where we're going to use our first expression in After Effects. Expressions in After Effects are basically these, I don't want to call them templates, but they're like presets. They're presets that allows us to create different kind of animations without having to keyframe it. The expression that I'm going to use right now is the time expression. So what we're going to do is we're going to open our tire menu, down to transform. Right here, tire, transform. And we're going to, down at the rotation, we're going to alt click on the stopwatch. And here we're going to type time times, let's say 1,000. And now without us having to keyframe anything, the tire is rotating. And if you want the tire to rotate faster or slower, that's what this number is all about. So if you want it to be faster, the higher the number, the faster the tire will rotate, and the lower the number is, the slower the tire will rotate. All right, cool. So that's looking pretty good. We're going to save our work. And now we're going to duplicate the tire. So we have both tires. So click on the tire layer and hit Control D. And now you're going to drag the second tire right over here. Now you can see that both tires are rotating, but we're missing the line in the middle. So we're going to duplicate the shape layer. I'm gonna move it to the second tire. And now we're going to parent using the pick whip to the second tire. Now we'll play this back. There it is. All right, cool. So now the rotation of the tires looks pretty cool. Yeah, don't mind the orange edges. Of course, if you're working for a client, make sure it looks really nice and clean. But, you know, I'm kind of lazy, so I'm just going to leave it like that for now. I'm going to add a little bit more movement because as we can see, the tires rotating. That looks pretty good. But the car itself, the rest of the car is not moving at all. And if a car is driving, if a car is moving, there's a little bit of a shake. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use our second expression of this tutorial, which is the wiggle expression. And I'm going to click on the car. I'm going to make sure that my anchor point is in the middle of the car. Right about there is good. Click on the car layer. We're going to open the car menu, down to transform, and then I'm going to alt click on the rotation, and we're going to type wiggle parenthesis 1, 1. I'm gonna close that. So now we see that the car itself has a very subtle movement. If you want the car to move a little more, you can increase the numbers on the expression, but I kind of like it like that. All right, now that we have the car moving and ready to go, we're going to select all of these layers and we're going to click on pre-compose, and we're going to name it car. I'm going to close it. And now we're going to start compositing our scene right here. So the car is right here. We're going to move it down here. Perfect. And now we're going to bring our PNG of the city, which is super big, We're gonna scale it down a little bit. That's perfect right there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to mask the street part out of it. So we're going to use the rectangle mask. And now we're going to create a mask along the PNG image. Make sure that it goes throughout. Make sure that the mask covers the whole image. This image is super long, and it needs to be long because it's going to be animated in the background. So make sure that the mask covers all that. So now we're going to lower it just to cover the street. Now we're going to duplicate this. Control D. And we're going to invert the mask. So now we have this right here. Perfect. Make sure that the city is at the bottom. I was gonna rename this street, and our car needs to be on top. Perfect. Maybe scale it down just a tad. Great. Now we're going to add some mountains in the background, which I also downloaded from the internet, so feel free to do the same. If you are doing this for a client, make sure that you have the right to use these images for commercial purposes. We're going to scale these down right about there. Perfect. Right about there. Now we're going to duplicate this. Control D. Move it to the side. I'm going to duplicate it one more time. Control D. Oops. Control D. And we're going to move it over here. There you go. And now we're going to make these 3D layers. We're going to click on this right here. And now we're going to move the mountains in the middle of our scene. We're going to move them forward a little bit. Perfect. Now we're going to go to layer, and we're going to create a new solid. We're going to make it blue, and this is going to be our sky. Nice and blue. I'm going to bring all the way down to the bottom, and here we go. There you have it. Perfect. Now we're going to move our car a little bit. We're going to animate it. Bring it down over here. And we're going to press the P key. That's the shortcut for the position. We're going to create a keyframe right there. Now we're going to bring our playhead all the way to the end of the scene. And we're going to move our car. We're going to make it exit. Perfect. Right there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to animate the background just to give it a little more movement to the scene so it looks more realistic, as if things were moving past the car. So now we're going to pre-compose our mountains in the background. So let's rename him. We're going to pre-compose. We're going to move all the attributes to the new composition. I'm going to click mountains. I hit OK. And now we're going to go to our composition settings, and we're going to change the width of this composition because it needs to cover like this whole area. Oops, it needs to cover this whole area right here. Right now the width of our composition just covers this part right here, so when we want to animate it in our main comp, it's gonna miss the edges over here, and we need that. So we're going to increase the width as long as it needs to be until it covers the whole comp. Now we're going to go back to our main composition, and we're going to animate those mountains in the back. I'm going to create a keyframe at the beginning and a keyframe at the end. There you go, perfect. Now we're going to animate our city background. Again, the more layers you have, the better it will look. So if I were to make this for a client, I will create different layers with different buildings. So you get a little bit, so it looks more dynamic. It looks definitely better. There's more depth to it. But for the tutorial, I just decided to do this couple of different layers. But with these techniques, you can definitely use the same techniques to make it look way better. We're going to go to a street, no, or city. Click on position. We're gonna create a keyframe, and we're gonna go to the end, and we're going to move our background. This can move a little faster because it's closer to our car, it's closer to the camera, so it needs to look like it's moving faster. Now we need to do the same with the street. So that's not bad. You can definitely make it look better. Cool. Now, the last thing that we need to do, so now we have the animation, we have the composition kind of ready, but the last thing that we need to do to make it look better, to make it look more realistic, is we need to create a camera and we need to create some depth of field. We're going to go to layer, new. We're going to create a new camera. And right here, we're going to choose the preset of 50 mil. Actually, yeah, let's do 50 mil. And we're going to hit OK. And now we have to make all these other layers 3D layers for the camera to be able to see them. And now we're going to open our camera. We're going to go down to camera options. And right here, we see depth of field. We're going to turn this on. And then here with the aperture, the higher the number of the aperture, the narrower your focal length will be. So let's say that you want in this scene to have everything in focus. Then this aperture number should be lower, should be either 0 or whatever, a lower number. But if you want the depth of field to be very narrow and you want just the tire, just the car to be sharp and in focus and everything else be out of focus, then the aperture number needs to be as high as it needs to be, but it needs to be a high number. So we're going to bring the car and our street. We're going to move this forward. Toward the camera. Moving forward. And oops. You're going to go all the way back to the beginning. And you're going to move this forward. And you're going to move this up just a tad. Now we're going to do the same with the houses in the back. Some elements are in focus and some elements are not. And that is very cool. But in our case, what we want to have in focus is the car, not really the houses in the back. So I'm going to move my focus distance until the car is nice and sharp. And the easiest way to do this, if you go here to 4 views, top, you'll be able to see all the layers And here's the camera, and basically, let me show you very quick. Right here, where this red line is where the focus distance is. So if this line matches, and these are all my layers right here. So if I want my first layer, which is the car, to be in focus, I need to bring this back, all the way back, to match this first layer over here. So there it is. Make sure that the number on your position on the z-axis is the same in the first keyframe and the last keyframe in all the elements in the scene, all the layers of the scene. So if it isn't, just go ahead and click on it, Control C to copy it, go to the very last one, and paste it, Control V. So here's our finished scene. Very simple animation that you can create in After Effects. The cool thing about this, like, we went through a couple of cool techniques that you can use for more advanced animations and more advanced visual effects. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you learned something. I hope you found this interesting. I would love to see what you guys can come up with using these techniques. And if you like this video and you found it useful, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. That actually helps small channels like my channel a lot. So I would greatly appreciate that. And I can't wait to see you in the next one. I'm determined to upload more After Effects tutorials. I really enjoy doing this. Let me know in the comments below what you would like to learn, and I will definitely create some tutorials for you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.